Myron, do you want to say anything?
I'll just welcome everyone on behalf of SMPA. We're very happy to be able to host this meeting, and I hope that it's informative. So, Mr. Bikini, I'll turn it to you to take us through the material.
All right, thanks, Myron, and welcome everybody, parents, and if there's any students on. I'm Alex Bikini, the band director. I just want to recognize Dr. Sato and Mr. King, as well as Mrs. Grimaldi, and some other faculty and friends on as well. Just a little brief overview of our trips. We've been traveling since 1996. As a music department, we go with the band, chorus, and orchestra all together, which is kind of unique but special in many ways. We've been to places like Nashville, Orlando twice in 2000 and 2014, Montreal, Maryland, Boston. We performed at University of Maryland, Belmont, and McGill Universities, giving the kids some really cool places to play with high-level adjudication from clinicians. We've recorded at Studio B in Nashville. We've marched down Main Street in Disney. We've done some cool stuff. We also had a lot of fun on these trips with amusement parks and cool events like Blue Man Group and Broadway show, touring shows and things like that. So it's really a wonderful time. We put a lot of thought and planning into these trips, and we're excited to be able to tour again. It's been 4 years, and next year it'll be 5 years since we've gone on a trip. So we're really looking forward to it. And we're excited that the Board of Ed and Administration has signed off on this trip for next year and for their support in supporting in this whole endeavor. So without further ado, we've been working with Bob Rogers Travel for the past 2 tours, and this will be our 3rd with them. And especially working with Rob Lewis, travel consultant from there. And I'd like to introduce Rob, and he'll walk you through the trip. Rob, welcome.
Thank you very much for letting me be a part of this meeting. Just a couple of things. You have received some information about the trip. I'm going to briefly go over what we put together. The trip dates are April 20th through the 24th of next year, going down to Orlando. Orlando is definitely the hotspot for performing groups this year and for next year. We had probably 630 trips traveled this year, and 250 of them went to Orlando. And we have just as many starting the process for Orlando for next year. So a great place to perform for groups between marching down Main Street of Magic Kingdom or performing on the stage there at Disney Springs. Just a great place for audiences to showcase your groups. We have one of the reasons for getting the process started this early is the air situation. On the Nashville trip, we were able to charter a plane to go down there, which was great. It worked out really nicely. Go to Nashville. Going to Orlando, we have more options for commercial airlines. So the commercial airspace opens up 11 months prior to the date of return. So in a couple of weeks, the airfare will be opening up, and we just want to be in a position to book and deposit on as much airspace as we need. So that's why we're starting the process early for people to sign up. I'll talk about the sign up process a little bit later, but just a little bit about the itinerary itself. Leaving on Thursday the 20th, depending on what flights we are able to secure for the group, getting down to Orlando, and we have the group staying at a really nice hotel. It's a Rosen Center hotel, right across from the convention center. If anyone has ever been to Orlando before and have stayed at the Rosen, it's for our large groups. It really is the best hotel down there. You know, last going to Nashville, we stayed at the Gaylord Resort, which was pretty phenomenal. This the Rosen hotel is as well, it's nice. Nothing's like the Gaylord, but the Rosen they work really well with our student groups. They do a lot of convention business, so not being there's times where we can't get our groups in there, but we do have rooms secured for a group for the April 20th through the 24th. With the depending on how the flights are, depending on when the performances are confirmed by Disney, we have a 3-day ticket to Disney. It's a park hopper ticket for Disney 3 days and 1 day at Universal. We've put together an itinerary that kind of right now has the group going to Epcot on the first day on Friday, then to Hollywood Studios on Saturday, and then on Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom on Sunday, with doing Universal on Monday. Those parks are interchangeable once we determine what is going to work out best for the confirmation of the performances and the airfare. So we do have 3 days at the Disney parks, a 1 day 2-park ticket to Universal included. We've also got a workshop for each of the groups, the orchestra, band, and choir groups, as well as breakfast is included each day at the hotel. They have a wonderful breakfast buffet there at that hotel. And we've also included a $25 dining card at Disney each day at Disney and at Universal. So we have tried to cover many things. There still will be a few meals that they will have to cover on their own, but we've got a budget of $500 for airfare. We're hoping that airfare has been all over the place this year, and as we're seeing for next year. So it's really for our groups, we're budgeting 500 until we find out what it actually is. Unfortunately, charter air is a lot more. You're paying for the convenience and the of leaving when you want and coming back when you want. So they do make it pretty expensive for chartering down to Orlando. Also, the fuel surcharges for chartering planes have really priced themselves out of with our student groups. As far as that's kind of the itinerary and inclusions, the cost of the trip, we kind of are basing costs on not really knowing how many people are going to sign up for the trip. We had for the Nashville trip, we had about between 190 and 200 on that trip. We had as many that were scheduled for the Boston trip that unfortunately didn't pan out. But so we base costs on 170 to 179, which is pricing out at $2,099. So with that, if the numbers are increased, the cost will go down a little bit. So once we get the final numbers and once we get the variable of the airfare, we can provide a more accurate cost for the trip. Right now, it's kind of budgeted on that $500 airfare. As far as signing up for the trip, if you have were a family member that signed up for the previous trips, the Boston trip or the Nashville trip, last year with not having too many trips go out, we did revamp our individual payment system. We were able to make some upgrades to it. So the system is new. So it's kind of the same process, but it is a more upgraded system. So there is a registration link that is on the BRT payments page that you would click on to sign up for the trip. A couple of things is that the payment, when you do sign up for the trip, we ask that you just complete registration, and that would mean signing off on the terms of conditions. That makes you, that's one of the steps that makes your registration complete. We now, with our new system, have the option of individuals being able to pay via their banking account. So you can use your checking account information and include that, and there will not be any fees for your transactions. You can still also use a credit card if you desire, but there is a 3% fee for each payment that is made via your credit card. So you can either do it via the bank with no fees, or a credit card for a 3% fee. We have registrations is open. We've been told that it does work, so people are starting to sign up. We are asking that people, if they're committed to go on the trip, that they sign up quickly. That will help us to determine how many seats we need to request and confirm when the airfare opens up in a couple of weeks. So those that sign up early will have the opportunity to be on the better flights. Last time, it was the first to sign up got to do the charter flight. Well, now it's those that sign up first will be able to be on the better flights that we're able to secure. It is $150 deposit that we're asking for, that will allow us to secure the airfare. The options out of Newark are really JetBlue and United, so we're definitely going the nonstop route for the group. It just is so much better than trying to do connections. The other payments are listed here, and we've got payments of $400 in October, November, January, February, with the remaining balance due in March for the trip. One thing that is nice also about our new system is that when you sign up, if you dealt with the cancellation of 2020, we worked with a company called Travel Insured. And so people that purchase the cancel for any reason insurance through Travel Insured, they were able to submit a claim off of what we didn't refund and receive a 75% refund on that amount. So, but the one thing about working with Travel Insured that we didn't realize until everything collapsed in March, and we had worked with them for years and had no issues with working with them. But the one problem was that when you signed up for Travel Insured, you didn't have to, you weren't asked what school you were with. So when we had all of our cancellations, one of the biggest questions came from directors was who purchased the insurance and who didn't. And when we asked that question with Travel Insured, their system wasn't set up to capture that information. So we didn't know who had they only had the last names and the addresses of the individuals. They didn't have the school names, and their system, they weren't able to revamp their system to include that. So we did do some a lot of research as to what was out there insurance wise, and a lot of companies are offering the same product with the cancel for any reason insurance, that you can cancel up to 2 days prior to the trip and receive a 75% refund back, which we looked, there is nothing else out there that provides a better refund than 75%. Nothing pays 100%. except for the medical portion, if you have to cancel due to a medical reason. I'll get further into that a little later, but so in revamping our system, we were able to work with a company called TripMates Insurance. And when you sign up, we're now able to see, the directors are able to see who has purchased the insurance and who hasn't. So which we discovered in 2020, only about 10 to 15% of people actually purchased the insurance, which was not ideal, but we kind of lucked out, and the individuals lucked out. We had very generous vendors, and we acted on those vendors very quickly to get refunds for our group. And I think no one expected this to be a year, 2 years down the road of not being open. And so they were very generous with their refunds for our groups. And so we were able to get a lot back for our groups. Our vendors have said, if that happens again, if we have another closure and things have to shut down, they as a business cannot refund. They know this product is out there. They just have told us, you need to push the cancellation insurance, because we all need to depend on the insurance protecting the finances of individuals. So that's what we're doing. We're really promoting this insurance, because we knew going into this year that if and especially around Christmas, when things started looking a little uncertain for the spring, for our January through March groups, that people with the insurance had their finances protected. Those that didn't have the insurance did not. Luckily, we had very few groups that canceled. Everyone kind of moved forward, and we had 630 trips there traveling this year. So
are you waiting to take questions at the very end?
Yeah, I'll take questions at the very end. I'm sorry. So with the insurance, the cancel for any reason insurance has to be purchased within 20 days of the deposit being charged. And in this case, the deposit is being charged on the 27th. So when you're signing up for the trip, it will ask you to move forward. Are you wanting the insurance, or are you declining it? So highly recommend that you make your decision when you sign up to purchase the insurance or not. But know that if you don't purchase the insurance, you won't be able to refund. We're now seeing about 80% of our travelers purchasing the cancel for any reason insurance. The insurance company has told us we cannot individually refund when people cancel and they haven't purchased the insurance, and they have a story as to why they have to cancel from the trip. We're not allowed to refund them, as we've have done in the past, because they know that it will negate the 80% of the people that have paid the premium for the insurance. So just know that purchasing the cancel for any reason insurance is the only way that you can protect your finances of the trip. So the insurance, there's going to be two types of insurance that is offered. One is a standard plan, which is more of a medical type insurance, and the cost on that insurance is 4.55%. And then the enhanced protection. The enhanced protection is the one that includes the cancel for any reason coverage. So the cost on that is more. It's 7.02% of the cost of the trip, and that's roughly $148 per person for the quad price. And that is the one that we're not allowed to when we started this process, we wanted just to include the cancel for any reason insurance for all of our trips. The insurance company said we were not able to do that because the policies are owned by the individuals. They have to be opt-in or opt-out by the individual. We as a company cannot do that for individuals. So that negated our chance to just blanket all of our groups with this insurance. So it's up to you to purchase the insurance, and it's up to you to purchase the right insurance. We still have people that is purchasing the standard plan that is strictly medical. And where that will kick in is if you, where it's kicked in this year is if you develop COVID, it become positive for COVID prior to departure, you are covered with the standard plan and the medical portion of it, and you will receive 100% back of what you paid in, as long as you can provide a doctor's a professional documentation that you are COVID positive. It can't be a at-home test result. You have to have a note from a medical facility saying that you have COVID. This has come up on every trip of ours where people have had to cancel because they've either tested themselves or the group has tested and have been kicked off the trip. So if they have the insurance, they are able to submit a claim and receive up to 100% refund because they're COVID positive. In the eyes of the insurance, this is just like breaking a leg. So at this point, that is how they are interpreting COVID. So that kind of goes over the insurance part. I'll open it now to questions. I know that was a lot of information, so let's see what questions people have.
All right, I'll jump in. This is Guy. Do you share in, let's say nobody cancels, do you, and everybody gets insurance, do you share in the premiums with the insurance company or not?
Is that?
Yeah, let's do you, Rob.
Oh, okay. As far as the premium, because it's separate, TripMate is the company that we have chosen. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what arrangements they have with BRT as a company, but I know that we want people to have the opportunity for insurance. They provided the this option so that we could see who was purchasing it. And
I'll tell you why I asked. It was interesting because, you know, you have these 5, 6, 7, whatever the number of payments are, you know, and the first thing I see is no refunds whatsoever at any point in the cycle. And for a travel agent, let's just say you make 2 payments, you got 150 plus 400 plus 400, you got $950 you paid into Bob Rogers. You're still 6 months before the trip. And let's just say, you know, I'm moving to Australia and my son's not going to make it. You know, for Bob Rogers to not refund under that is just sort of interesting. And so they say, oh, go get insurance. Well, Bob Rogers has nothing to do with insurance. So there's, you know, 100 kids would be 14,000 of premium, and Bob Rogers gets to collect all the money and then refund nothing of it. And I just think it, you know, I'm just trying to think about it from the parent's point of view. It's, you know, insurance is not cheap. It's 7% of the entire trip, which is already expensive. And, you know, you just get, you know, no refund whatsoever from Bob Rogers. The insurance company premium is based on a complex formula of, you know, they're pretty good at this stuff. They have a long history. So I don't know. It just, you know, it just seems, you know, skewed toward Bob Rogers doing real well. That's all.
Well, if you purchase the insurance, you're going to submit a claim and get 75% of your money back.
Yeah, and after 7%, though, you get 68% back of the trip, should you have to cancel. I get that. And that's why you buy insurance, so you at least get something back. But it doesn't seem like there's a cost at all to Bob Rogers, right? If you pay 80% of all of those payments in, you guys get to keep that, and the insurance company then reimbursed me for, 75% of whatever I paid, but you guys get to keep it. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah, well, and very valid point. I will say that cancellation pool of money this year has gone towards the fuel surcharges that every trip received for motor coach fuel surcharges that didn't start happening until about February. That we started seeing companies start charging 6-10% of their motor coach costs for
You're
towards-
not using the cancellation policy for a motor coach premium. That's built into the price of the cost of the trip. I don't buy that for a minute that.
we
that the
didn't
premiums are-
pass on any fuel surcharges to any one of our groups this year. Not one. That cancellation money helped to cover that.
Okay,
So
I think, hey, Rob and Guy, I think after our Boston trip several years back in April of 2020 was canceled due to COVID, I think we had to have some type of insurance policy put in for the people because of what we had to go through for that one. So, right, we have to have insurance in a sense right now moving forward with COVID with big trips. I mean, I don't think there's any way. We're given the offer to do it. Parents don't have to buy it, but after Boston, we were like, well, we can't do a trip without that again. So I think that's why they're providing it. I understand your concerns there, but
the thing is too, when I used to take a trip, I used to have this kind of joke with a family member that there was a way where you could buy trip insurance while you were in the airport, fill it out, pay for it, put a stamp on it and mail it at the airport. And it costs $15 for you to have trip insurance on no matter what your trip was. I did it all the time. Anyway, I'm very familiar with trip insurance, and I agree, especially in today's world, we should have it. And I was just trying to understand, the strict no refund policy, and then sort of, and then everybody should have the option of buying insurance. I get it.
right. And just going back to your original point of moving to Australia, I don't know if this still stands, Rob, you could correct me, but we've had unique instances like that where Bob Rogers has worked with us and we've been able to, on a case-by-case basis on unique things like that, give a refund. Is that still in case, Rob, or?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
from our standpoint, we're still a family-run company, so we can work with our groups in certain situations. So yeah, but great example is I have a group that is flying out on actually Wednesday, and they a woman on the trip last week who works for the Department of Defense was denied being able to travel. So trip is all, she paid in full, purchased the insurance. We're actually giving her the value of the airline ticket because it's in her name so that she can use that. So while we can't write a check to her because that would violate our arrangement with the insurance company, that's something that we can do. So yeah, I mean, we certainly will work with certain situations, but as the
Why don't we move along, Rob? We get it.
People
let's see if other people have questions. We can move along.
This is David Naidu. Can I ask a question about, it's not about the trip itself, about the logistics of the trip or the insurance aspect of it. So I want to ask, because we're new to doing this, because this is our first kid who's going into band. So I want to understand a little bit more about the trip itself and how this all works. So could someone walk us through what exactly the kids would be doing? I saw the itinerary kind of stuff, but there's like this, they're going to participate. How exactly are they going to participate in Disney, and what does that entail? And then the second aspect of I would like to understand is with respect to chaperones. Obviously, you have a lot of kids. Are you expecting parents to be chaperones? And if they are we supposed to be also buying tickets through the same process? Are we not supposed to? So if someone could be more descriptive about exactly how this works for parents, at least for those of us who are new to all of this, I'd appreciate it.
Alex, do you want to talk about what they're going to be doing in Disney, sort of what the plan would be?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Naidu, for reaching out. Looking forward to having your son next year. So on these trips, we kind of balance it with performance, educational aspects, as well as fun. And especially going to a place like Orlando, Disney, Universal, there's going to be a lot of fun as well. So we're looking right now at performing at Disney Springs, each of the ensembles down there, band, chorus, and orchestra. So they will have a premiere performance on that stage with probably a large crowd of people around. And that'll be one of the days. Another day, we do something which is an awesome experience we've done before with the kids, is they record a movie soundtrack in a soundstage at Disney with a professional clinician for 2 hours who'll work the students through the score. They'll have the film up in front of the room, and they'll record like a Disney movie score. And then the students will actually be playing the actual score to a movie like a Lion King or something like that. And then after the session's over, they'll play it, and there'll be the movie score with the students' actual soundtrack of them playing live to the recorded movie. They'll all be put together in the studio, and the clinicians are Disney Pro, and they're great to work with. And we found that's a highlight of many of the trips as well. The students have talked about that as well. So it's usually two main components, and they could take a large part of the day, like half a day sometimes, or 3 hours, because you have to get there early, you have to get your instruments, you have to perform. So that takes part of a day. So each of the days, at least 2 of the days, will have those type of aspects to them. We're actually doing an extra night this year. We've never done 4 nights. The reason for that, and Rob, you can jump in, is because of the logistics of travel, especially with the group this large, where planes get delayed. We had a colleague recently who just went from a school in New Jersey. They missed half their first day was the flight delays. So our thought is we get in there the night before, even if it's a delay, we could hit the ground running the next day, so the students get a full day of activities as opposed to missing it or getting up. We've met at the school at 3 o'clock in the morning before 2, and that's not wonderful either. So that's why the trip's a little bit longer and a little more expensive than we've done in the past as well. But those are the days. And then in terms of chaperones, and Mr. Grimaldi, you could jump in too, we take a large amount of staff, sometimes 10 to 15 staff members, and then also parents as well as Mrs. Grimaldi and administrators.
So yes, I will be on the trip with, and Karen Ford Jones will be there as well, the entire time. If a parent wants to chaperone though, what's the process of their registration with Bob Rogers Travel? How does that work?
Well, first off, usually what we do is we put out a call for chaperones. And then there's a process, obviously, you have to go through parents to get cleared to chaperone, fingerprinted and all that. But then once we kind of get that in motion, we would then ask, once parents have said, yeah, I'm willing to chaperone, then we reach out, confirm that. And if they want to go, Rob, what happens next?
So you would provide us with the names of the adults that have been vetted and cleared to go on the trips, and then we would just open up the trips for those individuals. So that kind of we don't have right now. The only thing that is opened up is the student registration, just because of the process involved with vetting of chaperones. once that has taken place and we're provided names, then those adults would be cleared to sign up just like the students would through the link.
And I just want to speak on the district end in terms of including chaperones. I know, Mr. Nadeau, you've done it before for your older son. Parents have to be fingerprinted and background checked before they can be chaperones on a trip like this. So if you are interested, and once the call goes out, there is that process to go through to either be fingerprinted or archive your fingerprints, pull them from the archives if they've been archived, and go from there. So I just want to make everybody aware of that. A question was sent to me also just about the itinerary and the payment plan document that will be sent out to everybody tomorrow, and also put on the Fine Practical Performing Arts website as well as the SMPA website. I'm gonna say by tomorrow because I can't guarantee people are gonna get it done tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate your responses.
Hi there. I have a couple questions. Merry Christmas. And this is my first experience with the trips as well. So a couple questions, and I haven't looked at the registration website. Do we select the roommates for our children? Like, does that have to be done at registration? Do we even do that? And then if we do, can we cross over between band, orchestra, and chorus?
That's a great question. Hi. Yes, absolutely. And the students pick their own roommates. We let them do that, and absolutely they can room with band, chorus, or orchestra kids. And that's the cool thing about going with all three groups, because they have friends all across the spectrum there. Yes.
Great, thank you.
This is Alex Lefkov. I have a question on the financial side. We might have two kids joining the trip next year. So question, is there any discount for the second child, for the sibling? And separate question, whether or not we can pay by check. I know for credit cards, there is I think somebody mentioned the fee. So if we can pay by check for the trip.
So I'll go ahead and answer that one. Unfortunately, the price is per person quad. So the $2,099 is for 1, 2, 4 people. So there's not a discount for multiple people on the from a family, unfortunately. If you set up, we don't take the only electronic checks. We don't take regular checks just because there's been issues in the past. So you just set it up through your banking account and do the electronic check, and that will not have any fees associated with it by doing it directly through your bank. There was also a question in the chat about would the chaperone price be the same as the quad price? And because the prices are listed as well for on one of the pieces of information, but the double price is because there's only 2 people sharing the cost of the room is $22.75 per person, and the single price for just one person in the room is $26.25. But all the students are going to be will pay the quad price, and it will just, once the rooming list is put together, even if it's a situation where the numbers don't necessitate that everyone is in a quad, all the students will pay that pay the quad price, regardless of if they're in a quad or have to be in a triple or double, because of just how the numbers fell with boys and girls. But there is an upcharge for chaperones for the double and single price.
So also to answer your question, they don't select their room assignments at this point while they're registering. That's something we do after the fact. And yes, there can be crossover between groups. Right, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely, Stace, Ms. Grimaldi. And then also in terms of financials, there's the Pledge Day credits. So all students have those every year that they do Pledge Day that can go towards the trip. Myron, I don't know if you want to jump in about SMPA.
Sure. Yeah, I was
SM
actually going to see if that was a good opportunity. So there will be scholarships available through SMPA. The amount is not yet determined, but that process will be opened up probably in the fall period once the new board and the new executive committee gets in place. So that will be another option for some of the students to help offset their costs.
And SMPA has been extremely generous over the years with the scholarships. I believe the PTO also, Ms. Grimaldi, has some scholarships available. Is that correct?
In the past, the PTO has had some scholarships to offset costs, not to cover the entire cost. There's a new board coming on, so I don't know what their plan would be moving forward, but they usually have a travel fund that helps students. And it's not just for the music trip. Obviously, there's other field trips that they help support students who are in need of help. Bob, sorry, not Bob, sorry. Can you ask, I have a question that came up directly to me. I don't know the answer in terms of what is the COVID policy in terms of right now, current requirements in Disney and traveling. We would obviously adhere to whatever's happening at this point, you know, at that point when we travel, whatever that may be, but what is happening currently down there?
Sure. So for my group that's traveling on Wednesday, the only requirement is that the local motor coach company is requiring everyone to wear a mask, just because they have such a international clientele that are on those buses every day, and their drivers have asked for that. So, but Disney itself is no longer requiring masks. The only time they require masks is for a workshop. You have to enter the building wearing a mask. Once you start the workshop, you can drop your mask. And if you ride the monorail, you have to wear a mask, but you can wear if you take the ferry, you don't. So that's what it is currently. We have been, every destination has been constantly changing this season. So we will be certainly keeping you up to date with any changes.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Rebecca Murphy. I have a quick question about the hotels. You said that the kids will be bunking as a quad. Does that mean that they're going to have to share a bed, or is there individual beds set up for them?
So each room will have 2 queen beds in them, and so yes, there will be 4 to a room, so 2 people per bed.
Okay, thank you.
So can I just jump in as the admin, who's one of the admins who are going on the trip? Sorry, the sun is right behind me in my office. I apologize. So we, like I said, I will be the administrator going on the trip, as well as Karen Forgione. Once we meet with the students, we'll go through it. Once we know the students that are going on the trip, we'll have a meeting with them. I'll go into the classes and discuss obviously our rules and expectations for behavior. I reiterate that all school rules do apply while we're on the trip. And then if something does happen that would typically send a student home from school, we will contact a parent, and a parent will have to come to Florida to come get them. We will not let a student fly home on their own. So that would be something that we do share with the students. And I'm pretty tough on the students when we have those meetings, just so they're aware of the seriousness of that we are guests in Disney, and Disney does have its own police. I do share that with everybody. I also share the fact that we have a great relationship with the Summit Police Department. I don't know anybody in Disney, so you can't tuck your way out of anything in Disney. So we just really reiterate all of our school policies and our expectations for behavior. And we do that as we lead up to the trip. So we'll do that next spring when we know the students that are attending and go through that process.
This is Emily Lajeunesse. Will there be a police officer from Summit PD coming? Because I know back in the day when I went, we had a Summit PD officer went with us on our trips.
There will not be a Summit Police Department police officer on the trip. However, we do have night security in the hotel each night who walk the halls. And then they also have my cell phone number, and I also end up walking the halls with them until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning if necessary, to make sure that students are staying in their rooms and there are no issues. But we do have a hotel security that we hire through Bob Rogers Travel for those situations in the hotel. but we do not have a Summit police officer coming with us.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a curfew on the trip?
Each night we tell the students they have to be in bed by, or in their room by a certain time, lights out by a certain time based on what's happening the next day. So we know the rooms that students are in, and we walk the halls to make sure that A, students are staying in their rooms, and B, if it's getting loud, to make sure that they're in bed by a certain time and it's quieting down. They're not interrupting other guests in the hotel as well. So
hi, this is Paulette. You may have covered this already, so I apologize. But in terms of the food, I know you mentioned breakfast was included, but for the other meals, do we just send the kids with cash, or how does that work?
do you want me to answer it?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
Yes, breakfast is included. It's a wonderful, very full buffet. A lot of hotels, their buffets have been downsized. Actually,
Yeah, I know that, but in terms of the other meals besides the fantastic breakfast buffet.
Yep. No. So we've got a $25 dining card included. Disney is expensive, so there may be some left over on that card after purchasing one meal, but plan on probably $25 for a second meal inside the parks each day. So roughly around $100 extra would be needed for food inside the parks.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I had a couple questions. One is, I saw on the schedule, it sounds like the intent is to leave in the evening. Does that mean that they would likely be in school on Thursday? And also, how is making up schoolwork handled upon the return, or are they supposed to do it beforehand?
I'll answer that. So the plan would be that they would be in school on Thursday. So we would work with students and families to determine when luggage drop off would be. We do actually go through luggage as well to make sure that students are bringing all appropriate things with them. It is a school field trip, so students are not expected to do the work ahead of time, but teachers will have a list of students who are on the trip. So, for every day on the trip, typically a student's given one day back to make up that work. So if you're gone out of school for 2 days, you should have about 2 days or so to make up the work. Teachers know it's a school trip, so they know it's happening. It'll be on the calendar from the beginning of the school year, as well as, we'll be happy to work with students who might need support in making up any work, to schedule, missed assessments or missed assignments with their teachers if we need to.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask is sort of about just the logistics of when they have free time in the park. Do students go in groups without chaperones to go to the attractions or rides that they want? If so, are they checking in with chaperones periodically? And also, is there an effort made to make sure that students are with particular groups and that nobody is left on their own?
Alex, do you want me to answer, or do you want to do it?
Yeah, we absolutely want the students traveling together. We do check in with them as well. And Bob Rogers has an app, which all the students have, but we can actually track through their phones where they are in the park at all times, as well as sending out disseminating messages to them. So yeah, we highly encourage them always to stay together. B, we'll check in with them, but we don't walk around one teacher with a group per se on the high school level in the park. But again, the app is a very effective tool as well for that.
Okay, so you can basically keep track of them and let them have freedom too.
Exactly.
And usually we have a nurse who will be with us, as well as, like I said, the administrators. We will let the students know either through the app or ahead of time where we will be. I'm going to be at this place if you need something. I even shared my cell phone number in the past with students, just to say, if you have any issues, call me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, just along those lines, will there be any safeguards to make sure nobody is alone?
Do you want to answer that, Alex?
Well, we'll certainly, if there's any type of issues or things we should be on the lookout for, we will certainly keep an eye on those students or situations. you know, it's hard, obviously, when you let them go at a amusement park to know exactly who's where, when exactly, or with who. But we'll do our best to make everyone feel as safe and as comfortable as possible. Usually we've like, you know, going back to behavior and stuff, I've been on these trips since 1998. And I'll have to say the Summit students have been incredible. And we've had little to no issues on any trip that I've been on. And the kids have just been great. And just even just going to Six Flags a couple weeks ago, we had 180 kids on that. And I mean, there was nobody late. There was no issue. I mean, they just really, for the most part, just been fantastic. And we've had so little problems. So I know for parents, the first time, it seems kind of wild and we haven't traveled in a while. But it's an excellent group of staff and administrators. And we really do our best to just make it a great trip and a safe trip for everyone.
And also we've had situations in the past where a student might feel not connected to a group of that might be in the park if like their friends are all doing something that day because they're part of the chorus, just saying they're a member of the band, and they don't know who to walk around with. We've also sort of arranged like, hey, can this so-and-so go and join your group today? And the kids are really good about including other students in their groups. So if we're aware of that, we will obviously address it and make sure that students are partnered up. There's a question about the mini bars in the hotel rooms. There are no mini bars, correct?
Correct. There's no.
Unfortunately, no, just kidding.
The groups, Clara Jenkins, I see had a question. Are they assigned groups? Or, they pretty much self-assign who they want to be with. We usually leave it open to that. If we have to, like Ms. Grimaldi was saying, make a kid feel comfortable or be part of something, but generally the students have their groups that they want to go around with.
Looking to see if there's other questions.
I just had one question. Well, at the moment, one question. Since we haven't, since as my husband said, this is the first kid we're putting through that's in band, and we had the pandemic, I don't even know, is this something that typically happens every year or every other year? Just thinking if, you know, if he goes this year, then how many more does he have? Or if he doesn't go this year, what more opportunities are there? Realizing there are no guarantees in the universe.
You want to grab that? So it's a great question. Sorry I didn't bring this up at first, but we've been going on trips biennial every 2 years. We've been doing one trip would be a large trip like a Disney in Nashville where we fly. And then the other trip 2 years later would be a bus trip, i.e. Boston, Maryland, DC, that kind of thing. So that was the model we used up until the pandemic that we were doing. The last trip, Nashville, 2018. Pandemic was 2020 Boston. We had to cancel that for obvious reasons. So now this would be our next trip. And we decided to go big. One, we haven't traveled in, it'll be 5 years. Two, you know, Disney, exciting, kind of get everybody back, you know, getting music back into the schools, everybody coming back to the program. So, you know, it is expensive. It's a big trip, but since we hadn't done a trip, most of the kids in the high school haven't done any trips. So that's kind of the thought process behind it and why we're doing it. But to answer your question, so the next trip would be 2025 as of now, and it would be a smaller trip. It wouldn't be a monster Disney trip or Orlando.
Just so you know, the sort of the thought process is that we do the music trips every other year. The other years, so the even years now, we would do, we allow our foreign language or world language trips to happen. So those are typically international, Spain, France. We had a small trip of 7 students went to Montreal this spring over spring break. So we try to offset them not happening on the same year. So it's not, a family's not hit financially all at the same time. So we try to stagger them as well. So if you have a student who is looking to continue in their language and might want to do one of those trips in the future, that might be an option later on as well.
Thank you.
So our instrument case is checked with other luggage. I'm going to say some, but not all. And then we also have had a van, a truck that drives down instruments as well, correct?
We have, absolutely. We're not sure if we're going to do that this year, depending on the amount of equipment, what we're doing down there. Rob, can you talk a little bit about the instrument? Yeah.
Yeah, so depending on what airline that we end up going with, it, you know, a lot of groups this year have just been checking their bags, and because the second piece of equipment, it's checked as a second bag, has become so expensive that it justifies the cost of taking a truck. So I think that if you're able to take a truck, it probably will be to your advantage cost wise. But we will, I think once we know who is signed up for the trip, you know how many large instruments that you're going to be having, and that will make the determination from your end whether or not to do an equipment truck or just use the money that's been budgeted for the equipment truck and just put it on the plane. Again, that will be how you decide to do that.
And the exact dates of the trip are April 20th, the evening of April 20th. Flying out that night is a plan, and returning on, that's a Thursday night, and returning on the 24th, which is a Monday. Sorry, I should know that. I can't count on the top of my head. It's late.
Yes,
Monday night,
yes.
Monday night late, the 24th. I'm gonna say late, later than school. There was, that's a great question, Ms. Kaplan. Ms. Kaplan asked, can we assume that there'll be no major events planned, like events for seniors, et cetera, during that time? Correct. So I'm actually working on developing the schedule for next year with all of the supervisors and making sure that this is already blocked off so other things won't happen. If your child does play a spring sport, there might be spring events, so I can't stop sports from happening during those 4 days. So that might happen, but other events, we will not hold big events for students at that point during that time period. Is there insurance for lost damages to instruments? I don't know the answer to that.
Sorry, I misspelled it. The question if any insurance for lost or damaged instruments during the trip. I don't know if if insurance is going to cover this, or the airfare company is going to cover that.
On the insurance, actually, there is a baggage and personal effects maximum benefit of $1,500 that is included with the insurance. So you would be able to submit a claim for that through the insurance company if you purchase the insurance.
Okay, thank you so much.
Somebody just put it on the chat just to let you know that instrument insurance is available through your homeowner's insurance policy as well. I didn't know that, the things you learn. Any other questions? Seeing none. Obviously, if we hang up, we end the call and you suddenly think of something, you can always email Mr. Bocchino, Dr. Sato, Mr. King, or myself. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you do have. Thank you for coming out tonight. Don't forget, we have concerts this week, so please join us. Tomorrow is the band concert on the Village Green. Wednesday is orchestra in the auditorium, and Thursday is chorus in the auditorium. So please join us, and thank you so much to Bob Rogers Travel for meeting with us this evening. And look out for the email that has all the information that we promised, the itinerary and the payment stuff. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.